Hear her.
And we are live. Yeah. Welcome, Claire. So, Claire is a psychologist, a life coach, a certified Akashic Records healer. She's a priestess, and she also, apart from providing Akashic Record trainings, she has a signature offer related to femininity. And nowadays, it's called the Feminine Timeline, excuse me, Shift Method. She is quite magical in lots of different ways. It's a great pleasure to have you, Claire. Thank you. And how are you today?
Thank you so much for the invitation. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Driving the waves as most people.
Driving the what, sorry?
The waves, the ascension.
Waves, yeah, yeah, for sure. I guess there's a lot of different changes with the last few years. Do you feel like a lot has shifted for the planet? We can just curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like completely rebuilding, right? Like mostly what I feel is the like the transition to new earth, even like kind of the death of the old system, the old core, like in the system, but even like physically are like the light grid is being replaced, right? Still by like another grid.
Absolutely love it. This podcast was based on John Mueller's idea to have to work with light leaders from across the world to celebrate a new earth. So um, that's very true. And just the people I've spoken to, and I'm sure you'll be amazing too. And just wanted to also point out where you are right now and where you're normally based. So if you could tell us, you got Czech Republic and Ibiza.
Yeah, normally I'm based in Spain, in Ibiza or Mallorca, on one of these islands, but right now I'm in the Czech Republic.
Okay, that's awesome. And that's your background. That's where you're from, or that's where you.
That's where I was born, yes. And recently I felt a calling to come here, to ground or to integrate all the knowledge from the last years. And also I felt invitation, as many people around me, I noticed like they felt the invitation by their birth countries, to revisit them and to root, to like really ground themselves or reground themselves, like to be reborn in their own place.
Love it. No, that's meeting all your ancestors and the ancestral spirits in the land that you were born. That's awesome. And you mentioned on your website, Claire Spirit, you mentioned how you're in touch with the magical, or maybe in the bio, you mentioned how you're in touch with the magical island of Ibiza. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's I've heard wonderful things, and there is a special energy there. If you could speak to that, and then we'll get into your work and how you.
About the special energy in Ibiza?
Yeah, what drew you there? Were you there most of your life, and how do you discern that energy?
Oh wow, yeah, I was there like during lockdowns for like for 2 years, right? I did there like probably the most work that I've ever done, because the island really is very supportive for this. It's like an energy vortex, and it brings out everything. I mean, depending on what journey you are, but it goes back to Atlantis and Lemuria, and I spend a lot of time healing there, these timelines, because sometimes light workers, or I would say very often if they have some challenge, it originates in Atlantis or Lemuria, and this timeline needs to be corrected somehow, you know what I mean? It's the basic wound, I would say. Like Atlantis, the fall of Atlantis and Lemuria. And yeah, the island like is incredibly powerful in this. It really helps with attention. It speeds it up extremely. It's a great place to manifest and to connect to your hologram, like to your original blueprint, and to life purpose, which often might be different than you think. And it helps you to see who you really are at your core, like your authenticity, like layer after layer, because sometimes you think you're a psychologist, right? But is it what really makes you happy, or is it where you feel like the most driven? Sometimes you find out that you're actually like your original divine blueprint is something a little bit slightly different.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like you've had many different roles, and feel like being a psychologist and a life coach and an Akashic Records reader. Um, what do you spend most of your time doing in terms of helping clients, helping people? How do you help people, and what do you do right now exactly? If you could just go right into it and explain it to us, please. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So I teach Akashic Records trainings nowadays. Like I pass on the wisdom. So like I teach different aspects of Akashic Records. Like it's not just answering different questions, but also, for example, connecting to your galactic home or quantum manifestation in the space of the records. There are several various things that you can do with them, like more advanced. It's like a quantum science. And then I also work with women like with womb awakening, womb healing, and different womb practices.
It's awesome. And you've been doing this for a few years now. Was that when you moved to Ibiza, or just curious? And I was also curious about how long it takes to learn how to access the Akashic Records, and how, like,
Yeah.
your program.
Yeah. I started the training. That's how I manifested Ibiza, actually, because I started the training 1 year before I moved there, and I used it to basically clear the experience that I had with my twin flame, and that kept me stuck in Madrid when I was living before. I felt like, no, I don't want to leave, because what if we come back together, and like separation from your twin flame can be like really difficult because it accumulated karmic lessons from my past. So I was searching for like a tool, like a new powerful tool that would be better than Reiki. And like by the time already I had like 40 different initiations, in energy healings.
Wow.
And it wasn't helping though, because this twin flame karma is something what really, like, like imagine all of your lives and all the mistakes that, or all the wounds, and it somehow accumulated as a result of the separation from your like second half, right? Or disconnection from source. Yeah, so I found this tool and I studied it for 1 year, and I cleared like karmic lesson after karmic lesson. Yeah, and I manifested Ibiza. Like I wanted to manifest like my dream place where I would meet my soul tribe. And after 1 year of like really deep work with the records, the quantum window opened, and I was somehow magically pulled into Ibiza, where I continued working with the records and I deepened the work there.
It sounds awesome. And who did you learn with? And if we had to learn from you, if someone listening, or if I wanted to learn from you, how long would it take? And do I need some special skill set? Do I need to have done a lot of work? Or how does one work with you in terms of the length of time and in terms of the qualifications or skill sets needed to access these records?
Yeah, I studied with Emily Harrison, and she was like incredible. I think she's the best teacher for it because I love to work with the best. So yeah, she founded like Akashic Records Academy.
Okay.
You can find it online. She even presented it like in Harvard. Yeah,
Sorry, Hogwarts?
yes,
Hogwarts,
yes,
sure. Oh, wow, that's
because
awesome.
she wants to bring it like to a greater amount of people, even like to kind of, because it's a quantum science, right? So it's a great way how to validate it kind of, or yeah, to present it. I also love it myself because this is the reason why I studied psychology, to bring it, to deliver it to more people, to give it more seriosity,
Sorry, how do you say her name again? Amelia?
Emily Harrison.
Emily Herson. Cool.
Yeah. Mm,
And now you teach it yourself, you said?
Yes, yes.
How long
It,
took you 1 year? Would it take us 1 year to work with you if we wanted to learn off, if I wanted to learn a few, or if any of the listeners did?
right now I have like 3 months program, but some people like it's quite individual, you know, like they have different
Gotcha.
pace. So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes more, but originally it's like for 3 months, program for 3 months.
One,
It
and
really
then
depends because everybody like they practice in a like different way, right? Like I myself, when I was studying it with Emily, it's her program was also for 3 months, but I studied it for 1 year
Mhm.
uh, because I just needed a little bit more time before I finished it. Yeah, it depends on how much time you invest into it, but yeah.
Cool. And did you need, are there any initial qualifications that, not qualifications, maybe not be the right word, but some kind of energy or some work that people need to have done to be able to start training, or?
Like on a general level, not really. But like ability to meditate or to enter this trance-like state is pretty much, I would say, the most important. Of course, like the closer you are to source, or yeah, or if you have previous experience, that makes it easier for you, but it's not necessarily like a prerequisite.
And I guess the other thing, you created your own method with the feminine timeline shift method. So that sounds fascinating. And even as I know there'll be some female listeners for sure. Um, if you could walk us through that and teach me about it, even.
Yeah, so basically it connects like this Akashic records and working with your womb to change your timeline, to raise your frequency, to heal past wounds, as for femininity, but also masculinity, to like shift your timeline and attract like a higher vibrational experience, like a higher vibrational timeline.
Awesome. And how does that work? Is that like a program? What tools do you use in it? And yeah, what is it about the womb? I've been hearing more and more about the creative aspect, and people are tapping into it energetically. If you could talk to me about how you discovered the method and how you were drawn to it and why you kind of created it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, sure. Like how I discovered it. It was like actually it was very shortly before I left Ibiza. I always felt like I had kind of a lot of electricity, or like, you know, sometimes like a negative or electric charge, which Ibiza is very about it. Ibiza is magnetic island. It's the third most magnetic place in the world after North Pole and Bermuda Triangle.
Really?
Um,
Wow.
so the experience in Ibiza is also about learning about magnetism and how to be magnetic, you know, and sometimes what happens, especially to women, is that they give their energy away, or it can happen even, you know, if you keep chasing men or you keep chasing projects, you keep chasing your clients, right? You can get out of the balance. And then I was thinking, oh well, what can I do with this? How can I shift it? Or I was on the path already for a while, but then I found my mentor and she learned me like these techniques, how to connect to your womb and basically how to really like, you know, contain the energy in your womb and how to be more like magnetic, to not work so hard for like to accomplish certain things, and yeah, to let it more like flow.
So yeah, so what made you shift to that? Is it, how did you make that, what was the catalyst? How did you switch from chasing, as we all do, to be able to receive and to tap into your own strength? Like, was it your twin flame, or was it something in the external world that helped it click in your heart, in your head?
I think the most important experience probably that started all of this was taking ayahuasca in Ibiza. One of the lessons it showed me was to let go of control in a very, I would say, dramatic way, like really let go of control totally, because sometimes it might be choice between life and death if you try to force things.
When did you take ayahuasca, the medicine? Was there a shaman? Was it in some tradition? I had a wonderful journey 7 years ago in Peru, and I'm a fan of the medicine. And it's from what I understand, it's the way it was described is it's a strong feminine spirit within the plant. But it works magically. It's worked for me and for friends and family across the years. But what drew you to ayahuasca, and what were you like before and after ayahuasca? Like what changed, and also just tell me everything about the journey if you don't mind, about
Everything about the journey.
as much as you can.
I took it after lockdown
Yeah.
because I was spending actually like a lot of time in the Akashic Records, and I felt, like a lot of, even though I was doing a lot of inner work, I still felt like, oh my God, what's happening with the world? I felt like this is just the beginning. Like I felt like Earth was dying, at least on the level I was connected to her, and I felt, okay, like I'm tuning into this probably because I have some traumas or I don't know what, but I need to really like raise my frequency even more. And as for the tools I tried so far, I tried Akashic Records, I tried all of this, so I understood I needed something new. And I wanted also to heal myself on a physical level. So yeah, after the lockdown stopped, I kind of wanted to come out of my bubble, but I didn't know how. And so I took ayahuasca with so many intentions, and one of them was to clear all of my past incarnations on Earth. Like I already set a very huge intention for my first experience. So yeah, like the experience itself was like huge. I was integrating it for 6 months after, I would say, or even longer. Like in some ways, I still keep integrating it. But yeah, like I had a near-death experience. Like 3 days after I took it, I went back to source. I lost all ego. I don't know what everything you would like to know, like even what I experienced when I took it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about losing the ego, and if you went back into the Akashic Records to see what had changed, and also,
What's
yeah, just
interesting is
as
I
much as
feel
you want to share. Just the whole thing sounds fascinating and amazing.
before I took it, I felt actually a little bit arrogant, because I've been on this path for so many years, including my studies in psychology and and I felt like there are not many things I didn't know, or I felt I know everything, right? And ever since I took it, I feel very humble. I feel like, who am I to feel like I know something? Actually, it's so much more complex. And every day I feel, actually, the more you know, you feel like the less you know, or the more is here to discover.
Right.
That's how I feel now, very humble. Also because it gave me like this ego that it happened in several, like I would say, when you have a movie, you have like several scenes there, right? So there were like 20 scenes or something like this. And after each scene ended, after it showed me something, I said, okay, now I understand what you want to tell me. And the plant gave me actually something what felt like electric shock, like literally into my brain. And I swear it was painful. It felt like somebody gives you paralysis, or like jellyfish sting or something. I never experienced anything like that. And it really hurt. So anytime I said, I understand, it gave me this shock. So it was like a total ego that like, you don't understand anything. And anytime you feel you understood it, there's much more to see or to understand.
Wow.
So that's one of the aspects of of the experience. So after I felt very humble, and I started to completely like redo my personality, kind of, or like really to let go of things that I thought were part of me or that I identified with them, right? And it also showed me how to connect to my womb, you know, like really like intuitively. Or as many women, I had quite like a masculine wound before.
Mm.
I felt like I always felt very deep connection to Isis and all these goddesses, but I had like life past traumas as for feminine, right? I was killed many times and it was difficult for me to connect to my womb. And after the ayahuasca, it became much easier. So got quite natural. It was the first moment.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's one of the coolest, it's one of the deepest journeys I've ever heard of. That's so you
Yeah,
yeah, that's
it was huge.
I'm glad you took it. I'm sure all your clients are, and and with that, I didn't know it was, is it sort of popular in Ibiza, or it was just something that you felt called to, I guess, over the years you wanted to try it. It's
Mm. I felt called to it because I was living by the time with somebody who has been taking ayahuasca since she was 5 years old. And I
oh,
heard so many positive things about it. In Ibiza, it's very popular, but I think it's also like maybe over popular because some
mm,
people they use it in a setting that's not really suitable. You know, I would be really cautious about it, or that's what I learned. Like it's important to take it in a professional setting. And yes, it, as on many of these islands or in conscious communities, I feel it's getting more and more popular.
oh yeah, definitely wanna visit someday. This is for all those, for the magical energy and for the vortex,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, it's on my list. I'll get there.
Yeah, it's
Um,
an extremely liberating experience in Ibiza.
yeah. You mentioned 40 different initiations. That's a lot. Can you walk us through some of them just to get an idea of, and I know are the ones that have been most impactful for you, and what kind of, where you explored, and then we could go back even further to how you started on this journey of trying to understand the psyche or yourself, and how far back we can go.
Mm.
You know?
And what do you mean by initiation?
Oh, you mentioned that before you like you said, you'd done Reiki, and then you'd done Akashic healing, and then you did the ayahuasca, but in between you had done a bunch of different initiations, like in terms of different uh, sort of courses, or like energy healing stuff like that. So is that's what I thought I heard. Is that right?
Well, yeah, like my journey started more in 2012 when I had like a rapid spiritual awakening. Like I literally, like some people they have it. I mean, like I was waking up for a very long time since I was little. I was writing diary, you know, and I was this introverted person who loved to meditate um, and things. But in 2012, I remember like I was taking shower, and all of a sudden I felt, oh, this body is just a shelter for my soul, and I'm here just temporary. And I really remembered that I come from like another galaxy, right? That I'm a galactic being. And ever since the day I started to receive a lot of upgrades and multidimensional dealing, multidimensional healing. I'm a great fan of it because I believe like extraterrestrial healing can be much more powerful than anything else. You know, like can heal almost anything. Yeah, and then I studied psychology, Reiki. I was one time I was obsessed with healing. Like I received 40 different initiations, as I said. Like Master Reiki was just one of them.
What
Um,
were the other ones? Just curious, just off the top of your head, if you could mention a few.
then different types of Reiki, like mystical panther Reiki or Marilyn light or something like this.
Yeah, Merlin. I'm a fan of
Magenta,
Merlin, just gonna.
magenta camber,
Magenta.
ascension bands. That's from Lightarian Institute, which is also very well known and grounded. Like they offer a lot of initiations, and this ascension bands that was really powerful. It was series of 6 or 7 attunements, and it was one of the most powerful ones.
Where is it offered again? I missed that.
It's the Lightarian Institute. You can Google it, and I think you should find some results. I think it's in California or somewhere in US.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I honestly I don't remember all the names because then I started kind of like to. I felt like I overdid it, you know, like I felt overly spiritual. I felt overly in my higher chakras, and this is also the reason why I took ayahuasca, right? Because one thing is to have it in your higher chakras. This is like a light worker syndrome, right? Like you are floating out there in your bubble because you sometimes it's motivated by you not really that you don't like the experience on Earth. So I did also a lot of healing about it, and especially with ayahuasca to go more into these lower chakras. And that's also what the womb work is about, to be really grounded.
That's awesome. So yeah, so I guess we could talk about that. That happens a lot, like not being grounded. Do you have regular practices, or for some of the clients and the people you deal with, do you help them ground as well, or are there certain practices that you use? Or?
I mean, grounding is also, let's say, a word, it's a label. I also learned that grounding can be more like being centered or just not actually forcing groundiness, that it can have different meanings. You know what I mean? Or should I explain a little bit more? That
Sure.
sometimes you can just force this concept on yourself. Like, I mean, as far as you have house, you have money, and you have all these basic things, and your chakra is okay. Now let's talk what grounding actually is. Like, what does it mean? Like, I learned that what the meaning I was ascribing to it is a little bit different, or that you don't necessarily actually need to be grounded. You can feel kind of like in a trance-like state during the day, and it's okay, and it's actually a very pleasant experience. You don't need to force yourself to, I don't know if I'm describing it well.
That makes sense. I think that makes sense.
A lot of labels, a lot of meanings, and a lot of expectations about what it means to be grounded. That's what I feel.
It's like the opposite of being spiritual. Then we're too excited to be grounded, and it's like having that. So just flowing with what feels right in the moment is what I'm.
Yeah.
That's what else to ask? So there's, in terms of the people who come and who you work with, I'm just curious, what are the most kind of common, or most of the people who come to work with you, what do they come for? Like, are they coming to solve an issue, to improve in certain areas? What are what's the most common or popular reason that people work with you or your clients? What's the common thread, I guess, most of them?
So I had some clients that wanted to work on their infertility, or like really to clear the energy in their womb. And otherwise, I had quite some clients that want to take their healing abilities to a quantum level with the Akashic records, you know, to upgrade it. Because most of the people, when they start working with the records, they are already like good at something. They are either healers, they might be hypnotherapists or whatever. And when you work with it in the records, it takes it to quantum level, like to more advanced level. So yeah, I think that's the most present.
It's awesome. No, I've had the opportunity to get my first Akashic Records reading just a few months ago. I had a dream and I had to follow the dream, and this lady I met at a dance, and it was a beautiful reading. And I was curious about your first Akashic reading, what you learned, and also which planet or which galactic system you come from.
That's a
And
good, that's a
or
good
many,
question.
if you come from many, that's cool too.
That's a usually question that's one of the first questions I usually ask to people, either they are spiritual or no. Anyway, yeah, my first reading was amazing, and that's why I later signed up for training, even though it was with Emily, which was like another person. I was so inspired and I got so many activations that I felt like, wow, I want to be able to do this for myself, right? I want to read how
Mm.
to, I want to learn how to read the records. So it was great. It gave me a lot of insights also about my twin flame and a lot of things. And I would say as often the reading is sort of activation. If you are really sensitive, if you are a psychic, whenever you get some reading done, mm, it also opens the window of receiving the downloads, and it can be like an activation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how other light workers experience it, but often what happens to me, it might be because I'm clairsentient and I'm psychic, that if somebody does reading for me, I kind of get downloads about the ability. So that's how it started for me, actually.
Are you going to share your galactic home and what were the first?
Oh, my galactic home. Oh my God, that's such a interesting question. Like, wow, that's a very complex question because you can originate somewhere, but I've been traveling through all star systems, and like my DNA is mixed. It's a mix of Pleiades, Lyra, Sirius, um, and Venus. Like, it's a very big topic because you can actually also, when you come in contact with somebody, you can mix your DNA with, or I'm kind of like a DNA scientist. I love to, yeah, I'm learning how to work with this because one of my goals into the future is to activate DNA of star seeds. I'm actually taking a training on this. It's my favorite topic. And yeah. Oh, I mean, like, one thing is where you originate, but another thing is also what you want to embody or what you want to plug into. And yeah.
So did someone at some point in your many histories or lives, did someone take different DNAs and do that for you? Or is that how, and now you want to do it for other people? Is that, am I understanding that correctly? Or
Can you say the beginning
like,
again?
did someone take different DNA strands and for you, did someone combine or activate a Pleiadian type of DNA, or how did you, or
You
did
have
you
different,
just have
no,
parents
you
and
originate,
grandparents?
yes, sir. You originate in some galaxy, right? You can be
Yeah.
born as a Pleiadian. But
Mm.
during the life, like we have past lives in different galaxies as well, right? And I remember I'm like a voyager. I was living different experiences, and I have DNA in different dimensions in different galaxies. I visited different ones. So this is also the reason why often when I meet people, I'm able to tune into the frequency of the star seed, and I'm able to feel where they come from. One thing. Another thing is when I was in Ibiza, I plugged into different star seeds and I felt my DNA was upgraded as well.
Mm.
So yeah, one thing is when you originate, the another thing is like how you upgrade your DNA during your life, because you can upgrade your DNA and then you can plug into different star seed systems.
That sounds amazing. So if I wanted to activate, so once you're done your training, if someone wanted to connect with you. I mean, sounds like you already intuitively know how, but you're still doing a training. So we could activate different ones based on our mission or what we were called to. That's super cool.
Yeah, I work also a lot with the seawater, because sea is perfect for upgrading your DNA.
Wow. How
There
come I
is this
didn't realize that?
have you heard about Galactic Federation of Light?
Yeah. The ones who run the galaxy, yeah, and meet and all of that a little bit. I don't know as much as probably you, but yeah. I know there was a Canadian, because I'm based in Canada. The defense minister was speaking about it, just like the Israeli defense minister spoke about it a few years ago. That once they retired, they spoke about the Galactic Federation. So it's good to hear a top-ranking
Yeah,
official.
it's really cool union of magical, multidimensional beings, right?
Yeah. Are you on
That
the
I
council?
don't really watch politics on Earth. I just, from time to time, I plug into the Galactic Federation of Light, and
Mm.
it's so much more fun. And I also I also watch these channelings from Elizabeth April from time to time. If you know her, she channels the Galactic Federation of Light.
I think I came across her maybe on Gaia or something. I think I remember.
Yeah, I really recommend it because it's very spot on as for like some predictions, or even like just knowing about the Galactic Federation of Light, and yeah, different things.
Well, wow, we covered a lot of cool topics, but yeah, still more I wanna touch on. So yeah, you're getting the downloads very quickly about the Galactic Federation. You're getting the downloads through Elizabeth. Are we able to contribute? Are you familiar with which humans are representing, or how does that work from like who's representing our planet? Is that something you do, or you have some beings within this planet that you've been in contact with or representing us? For the
Who's representing us where, in the Galactic Federation of Light,
yeah,
or what do
yeah.
you mean?
Yeah. So who's representing Earth, and like what beings? Are you familiar with that? I'm just curious.
Like which beings you can find there, yeah?
Yeah, like from Earth, like we must have like some representatives, like some representation, right? So I was curious because I think I've heard like there's like some Middle Earth beings, or like beings not quite humans, but other higher dimensional beings, like fairy type beings that are representing us, but there are some humans or some is that something that would you speak for Earth, or
I mean,
be
even you as a light worker, you can be member of the Galactic Federation of Light, right? Like many
yeah.
influencers are members of the Galactic Federation of Light, kind of like. But yeah, you have like, I don't know, you have different Pleiadians or DNA scientists. Like Elizabeth, she describes it very well in the videos, because she said how they look like they are
Mm.
blue or
Yeah, I've seen some of her
um,
stuff. I remember her though, the more you talk.
yeah, sometimes I see some of them, or it's more like I feel them, um, especially when I ask for DNA upgrades, or yeah. I'm On the other hand, I'm not so advanced in this. Like I practice sometimes connecting to Pleiadian Council, or I try to tap into Timeline, but this requires quite some energy to do it.
Mm. So how do you generate that energy? And also, yeah, you mentioned the timeline shift. That's really cool. So that's through quantum
Yeah,
shifts.
timeline shift is my favorite topic. Like I've been obsessed by timeline shifts. Like I always think about how to make the timeline better for humanity, so they don't have to go through, or even for myself, so we don't have to go through difficulties, or we can take a like easier path, or how we can connect all together, so we can collectively transmute the vibration and to change the timeline or prevent from some things happening that are not really necessary. And yeah, I really like the idea of light workers being united.
Right. And have you there? So I guess we love to talk about community here, and we want to build a community, and hopefully you can connect with the other podcast guests and and we can all work together to build a better earth. And I mean, in that sense, and I'm curious about like how you've worked with community in your life, if you've um, gone to these group meditations or channeled energy to different issues and different causes for our planet or for the galaxy. Just have you done that, or how does that look for you in your community?
Yeah, in Ibiza, I've tried to get ayahuasca. I lived in community for 3 months. Basically, all the time you live in Ibiza, it feels like living in community because the whole island is one big community. But yes, I lived like in a specific, like more closed community.
And did you
And then
meditate?
we're doing quite some work, yes, like on our own projects, but also sharing it all together and also learning how to bring it, how to deliver it to people, holding retreats. Yeah, I was
That sounds
participating in some retreats.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. I just thought of this now to get everyone in just the 35 odd people I've spoken to get them all to meditate for a common good and see
Oh
if,
yeah, that would be wonderful. And
yeah,
also like, yeah, that would be amazing. I
yeah,
think it's really important for us to connect. Like everybody has their own projects and sometimes they have their own agendas kind of, but I feel it's important to connect from this like egoless state towards unity.
yeah, I guess. And yeah, that would be beautiful. I've read about studies where people have done that in certain cities, and then the crime rate drops significantly if they focus just on, say, more peace and things like that. And with the lineage I'm part of, there's a monthly practice, or every few months they have a practice where they get hundreds of students to meditate under the Merlin lineage. It's called an earth shift. So there's beings channeled into us. So that could be something that I know John's holding an event. So maybe in another month, where he wants a bunch of speakers who have signed up already to speak. And I'm sure he'd love for you to join. We could discuss that when we get off the podcast, if you're inclined to do so. But yeah, I really like that aspect of building community. And how about your own clients and people you've worked with? Could they connect to each other? So say I worked with you and you help me with something. Could I reach out to the other people who have worked with you? And then that could, like, is that through a Facebook group or through your website or something, or Insta or something? Or
You remind me my idea that for a long while I was kind of a little bit obsessed with creating Lightworkers Army. I called it Lightworkers Army. And that would be a group of highly educated and trained people, and they would be assisted by like different experts, and each expert would be working with them on a different topic. Later I found out the goal was too big for me at the time, but maybe I will come back to it. But back to your question, it was how to have the clients can connect to another experts, or what?
Just to each other. So maybe without even an expert, just say all the people you've worked with, or, is there a way for them to connect, or is that something perhaps that could happen maybe?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, cool. So now if we sign up, we'll get a meet, hopefully, or those who are okay with it, the other people you've worked with. And just going back, I know you said you've always been intuitive, and you're clairsentient. So I know there's different clairs. And how long ago and when did this start? And was this something that's passed on, or were you born with it, or when did you tap into those gifts? I know ayahuasca was a big thing, Akashic Records was a big thing. Was there anything as a child? I'm just always curious about growing up with that, and how your family and people around you, if they were supportive of your gifts, and how they kind of grew.
So interesting questions. I remember my mother was afraid of me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like I was born with kind of like clarity and purity, and I saw truth. That's like also important aspect of me, that I try to see the core essence of people, and I kind of look at them with my laser focus, and I try to dissolve any shadows or like anything what is not truth, and I try to see the truth and the clear core of the people. And yeah, like I remember my mother and like quite some people were afraid of me and what I can see in them, right? Because
Mhm.
it's sometimes not fun to see with such clarity, right? Like I guess most of the psychics have this experience that you see things that are very deeply stored in subconscious mind of others, and when it's somebody who is very close to you, it can be like it can be challenged to handle it, right? Like this contrast that it creates. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit. What did you say to your mom and your friends? What did you call them out on? I'm so curious. That sounds.
No, I mean, like you can see that, like your mother, she loves you, or she's supposed to love you, right? But you can also feel that she has really like some maybe ambivalent or subconscious jealousy towards you. So what are you going to do with it as a child? Like, how are you going to feel in her presence? Are you going to feel like she's warm and that you can trust her? Probably no. And then she will feel you feel it, and it's like people know you know, right?
So
So
you
it's
didn't blurt it
like
out? You didn't.
unless the person is capable of really facing to their inner truth, even their shadows, their
Right.
clarity, their purity, they will run away from you because they are not ready to. It's like you have it on your face. What do you see in others? They feel you see it in them. By only reading them or seeing them, you activate it in them basically, right? It's like a quantum physics. So you bring it up in them.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that. I can see why people would want to run away from that or why they'd be scared. That's awesome.
But it
And
also depends how you hold space for it, because it can actually create extraordinary experience of like letting know the other he's absolutely accepted as he or she is with everything what you see. This is also what I try to transmit to people, like most of the time, that I see it, I feel it, but I still want to love it. And I want them to feel like unconditionally accepted, because after all, I feel this is what everybody needs or what they want and what I want to provide for people. Because we are all the same, kind of like in this.
well, that's a skill that I've been told it's not everyone has it. It takes time to learn to hold space for a lot of people. I think the more issues we have ourselves, it's tougher to hold space for others if we are holding on to baggage ourselves, is what I feel like I'm slowly learning or have learned a little bit. But for you, it
Like
sounds like what's that?
space holding, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. And you said I had that as a child. You could hold space for people like fairly easily, or did you lose it at
Yeah.
any point, or like your gifts or the ability to hold space or see them, or was it there throughout?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Oh,
If
oh
it,
yeah, sorry. Did you lose that ability either to hold space or your psychic gifts, or were you able to keep a hold of it throughout with busy normal lives? Were you able to keep all those gifts and that ability to hold space and your psychic powers as well?
that's an interesting question. I think it depended. I think it depended. Um, yeah.
Did you hide it away ever, if you don't mind me asking? Like, did you have to feel like you had to hide it because, like you
Like my
mentioned?
psychic abilities.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like most of my life. Yes, which can actually make you feel like you cannot be your authentic self, and it can feel for others like you are hiding something, right?
Mm,
And then, I mean, they might not trust you, obviously. I guess it's for all psychics. Or even like just knowing I'm a starseed, like I know I'm an alien, but am I going to tell to everybody? not really. And like, so I guess people can feel it sometimes. Like, yeah, did you know something, like, or did you hide like something and you didn't share it with them on top of what you already feel? Yeah, I had to hide it quite a lot.
What's the other thing I wanted to ask you about? Yeah, you mentioned like star seeds. I feel I don't know, but how common are star seeds or beings from other galactic? Aren't most of us from another galaxy? Or like if you were to guess in terms of your understanding or view, and you can see a lot of things clear, a lot of things clearly, how many of us come from different galaxies? And how many of us are just always on Earth? And are we all, yeah, if you could kind of help me with that question.
That's such a great question. Like, I feel we differ in the level we woke up to the knowing, right? Like
Mm,
some people, obviously, they are more tapped into their galactic origin or to their multidimensional abilities. And then you can also feel or you can see they have kind of like superhuman intelligence, right? And they just really think differently, or they don't need so much time to figure out like some things. Like myself, like I often know answer before the other asks, or like I process information with quantum speed, or just in on a different level. Um, how many people are star seeds? Well, I think there are many more than they think. I definitely think it's more than 144,000.
oh yeah.
Sometimes it feels like most of the people have some type of starseed DNA. I think Earthlings are less, but hard to say. I don't dare to say the number. I just noticed from my personal experience that some countries are that in some nations or countries you have more star seeds than in others for some reason.
Oh, now that you said that, I know Ibiza you said has a lot, but which are the other which countries, if you don't mind me asking, do you think there are do you see that there are more and less?
Well, I would say, for example, in the Czech Republic, you have more Earthlings than in Spain.
Okay. Well,
And one thing, like, it's about activation of DNA.
mm,
Like, I mean, everybody could be starseed, but unless they activate it, unless they reconnect to it, unless they remember, it doesn't mean much, right? So it might look like we are surrounded, like majority are Earthlings, but it can be just they have etheric implants, or
mm,
they didn't activate their DNA or something.
gotcha. Cool. Oh, that's a fascinating topic. A lot of this is I love this stuff.
It's,
Thank you.
by the way, what I would recommend to everybody who feels like maybe stuck or something, or they are having challenges, because removing your etheric implant is one of the most important things that I've ever done for myself.
And do you do that for other people or help them do that if they come to you, or is that done through like the Akashic Records reading, or is it some just through
No,
uh,
this is another one. Actually, the last year I thought, like, because as we're going through the transformation, there are really like galactic wars happening, right? And because I can perceive these multidimensional energies, I felt like, oh my God, I need to upgrade my skill set. So I took this incredible training, which is called Lightworker Warrior from New Earth Masters. They're incredible. Like, and yes, I learned how to remove these etheric implants. I haven't been providing it to others yet, but I'm thinking about offering it for free, and trying it.
yeah.
And yeah, like I had it removed several times and it was life-changing.
Can they come back, these ethereal implants, or how do you
It
stop.
depends, like some of them are from Atlantis, and there can be also for a reason if somebody misused their power in Atlantis, right? Like some people are not ready to have them removed because they could misuse the abilities again or something.
Oh, okay.
It always comes in the right time, I guess, this knowledge. But yes, we can receive implants from pesticides, or even from 5G. Yeah, it's important to keep clearing yourself.
Um, I guess, yeah, with the Atlantis stuff, it's fascinating. I feel like I've heard a lot of the Atlanteans are coming back. Is that something that you're seeing in the last maybe say 20, 30 years? It's gradually increased. That entire Atlantean generation seems to have come back in the new the last 20 years. Is that's just my feeling or what I've heard? What do you?
Big comeback,
Yeah, right.
our gangsta group. Now, what do you mean, like by them coming back? Like you mean they are activating their Atlantean DNA, or?
I guess the way I see it, or the way I understood it, was just people who had lived in Atlantis, and not everyone had. Like a lot of us had, but the population was maybe smaller.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
those souls have come back in mass in the last 20 years, 30 years, like half. But I feel like Atlantis is back. Like the people are, or the souls are back. But yeah,
Yeah, well, that's what my life has been about, like clearing fall of Atlantis and yeah, connecting to Atlantis and Atlanteans. Yeah, I feel this new art consciousness is based on it.
and what did you do in Atlantis? Do you remember your past lives? Do you want to share one real quick that's impacted you? I know you probably have lots, but um, do you remember them, or were you just in terms of the readings, or in terms of your own exploration? If you want to share one real quick.
Yeah, well, I remember this Lemurian like life when I was water priestess and I had my soulmate. I was
Yeah.
doing womb healings already back then. And then I had this life in Atlantis, and it ended up not good because my temple was flooded and I was hypnotized by black magicians, and that's
Oh,
what I was healing for many years. This
wow.
experience of falling from the temple.
Wow.
Because that was the topic in Atlantis, the degradation, devaluation, or actually people getting vaccines. That's like it was in Atlantis, right? These implants
Oh, wow. So so it
and
was,
degradation in
I'm
some
sorry.
ways. And degradation in some ways.
Okay, so now we're unlocking that from all those generations
Yeah.
you did. That's amazing.
One of the most important lessons I learned is like it's about standards, because like to keep your standards high and clear.
Wow. Thanks for going over that part so quickly. I know you could probably talk about both those lives and the journeys like for a really long time, but that the one in Lemuria sounds really magical, and the one in Atlantis sounds really, really painful. But I'm glad that you've done some work on it, or it feels like you have. Um, in terms of what else do we have to cover? We covered a little bit of community. Your business has been growing and thriving, I imagine, in the last few years. We normally talk about leadership, but I think if you want to speak about leadership very quickly, and also, yeah, just how long have you been a leader and helping people in this way or other ways? And again, was that something you were born with, or do you have tips for people looking to embody their leadership? Step into leadership roles, or
Well, that's such a big topic. Leadership is like everything is constantly growing, developing, like what it means, and the concept is transforming as well for me. But yeah, I was born like, I didn't like going to the school, and I was really rebellious at the school, and I was asking, why should I learn this date? What is this going to like help me to do, like in history? Like I want to understand it like on a deep level, like this event that happened, right? I don't want to know the date. So Yeah, I was kind of like out of the matrix from the beginning, and I always was like, no, I don't want to be part of the matrix. I'm here to bring a new system, like to deliver a new system. So yeah, it's somehow like what I knew from the beginning, and I try to share with people.
Thanks, Sid. Sorry, I think we've gone quite a lot over time, but I feel like you are just fascinated by a lot of what you have to say. So thank you for that. But yeah, very quickly, we can do a rapid fire, and I'm gonna try and wrap this up quickly if that's cool. And then we probably covered a lot of these topics, but the idea with the rapid fire is I'd say a word, and then you reply with a quick sentence or a few words. And it's very tough to capture everything you know or have experienced with that one word, but just as quickly as you can, it's a rapid fire. Is that cool? Are we good?
Hey, that sounds like fun. Okay.
Okay, let's go. So crystals.
Amethyst.
Sorry, would you say? I didn't hear that.
Amethyst.
Amethyst. Oh, perfect. That's my birth crystal. Love it. Gurus, mentors, and guides.
Fire.
Fire. Your biggest challenges in your business or personal life.
Silence.
Your favorite art or book and or movie in the last little while or ever.
Favorite art, book, or movie?
Yeah, or you could give all three if you want, from the recent past or forever.
Life is a great movie. Like, I try to not absorb so much from outside, to be honest. I try to create.
Favorite magic art, favorite healing techniques.
Healing techniques.
Yeah. Or lineage or
Working with water, like water healing. That's the most favorite technique because it's kind of like magician. And working with mirrors, that's also magic. I love magic.
Love it. Your quickest way to connect with divinity or your intuition.
My biggest way.
Quickest way or biggest way as well for you to connect with intuition and divinity.
To connect to higher self or to source.
And how do you do it?
Just by sending the intention.
Perfect. Thank you. Sex, the role of sex.
What? The role of sex. Oh, crucial.
Awesome.
Essential, very important, and needs to be understood too, because otherwise it can destroy people. I saw so many people being kind of destroyed or overwhelmed by it, you know? Like, it's necessary to learn how to channel it in a good, healthy way.
Love it. Psychology, favorite psychologist or method of inner work or psychology, branch of psychology that you like the most?
No, obviously I like psychoanalysis. Like I like something that Freud said, or I like Carl Gustav Jung, right? Like as for Freud, though, obviously for both of them, I don't like many of the things they said about women.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. Psychedelics.
Oh, a great healing tool in a professional setting.
Yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, mind body practices.
Yeah, perfect for working with your energy and learning how to channel it like through your body and how to move it and upgrade yourself.
Diet, food, diet, yeah.
Pranayama, or like kind of like I don't eat so much. I do a lot of breath work. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that was my next one. Breath work and meditation. Your favorite? Do you have a favorite kind of breath work?
I started
Pranayama?
after ayahuasca, changed my life, like breathing through your emotions, crucial, like essential through your pain body. After one breathwork session, everything can change, right? Like it's sometimes I almost feel tempted to do breathwork all day long. I
Is there
mean,
a specific modality?
yeah, something what I learned from like one magical Atlantean Lemurian being in Ibiza. It's like a deep breath work, deep transformational breathing, and also giving voice to your emotions, like screaming, basically, we would
Mm,
say.
I'm gonna do that more. Uh, aliens and angels.
Aliens and angels,
Yeah, your
they're
favorite ones, the ones you connect with the most in terms of angels or aliens or archangels, any of those.
well, they are real, right? Like I saw them, I felt them, my good friends. I don't know what I should say.
Which ones do you hang with the most? Which angels and aliens?
With angels, well, my guardian angel, right? And aliens, my God, also my guides, my galactic guides.
Um, chanting, singing, dancing.
Yeah, great creative therapy, like necessary for embodiment, right? Like very, very important. Dancing, I love dancing. It's one of my greatest passions.
Astrology, sacred geometry, and astrology separate, and then sacred geometry, and just
Yeah, astrology is a great sense, like to use it kind of like to selectively choose what you like or what resonates with you when you have a good like analysis from a good astrologer. Can help you to raise your magnetism kind of for to better understand yourself, but it's a complex science, right? Like not, oh, my son is in Taurus, I'm such a Taurus. You know, I'm
that.
so stubborn, imagine. Yeah, anyway, and yeah, sacred geometry, yeah, it's perfect tool to raise frequency of places or your own frequency. Yeah.
um, organized religion and just God, or your definition of, or your relationship with God or divinity.
My relationship to God or divinity, well, it's, what does it mean? Like, what is my relationship to God, or what is my definition of God?
Sure, definition of God and relationship, both, I guess.
I think God is everything.
Yeah.
And I guess it's about learning to see that that source is everything, even the shadow. And a lot I feel is about creatorship, about creating and choosing to create in every moment. That's God, I feel. Sorry. Yeah.
No, thank you. So last three questions. What makes Claire the happiest on any given day? What makes you the happiest?
What makes me happiest?
Yeah, on most days, on a normal day, what would make you the happiest?
Like pleasure.
Any, that's awesome. Any, okay, elaboration? No, that's fine. What are the most consistent or persistent thoughts in your brain? What gets, yeah, what do you think about the most?
What do I think about the most?
Yeah.
I feel like life is a bliss, or I try to focus on this positive experience or even like sensual experience in life. Mm, yeah.
Awesome. And before the final message or last, I was very curious about your earring. I meant to ask you the whole time, is that a snake? It looks really cool. Is that like an ayahuasca thing, or just is that a dragon?
That's dragon. Yeah,
Dragon? Cool.
I feel very connected to dragons. I love them. Like dragon consciousness is very special.
Okay, I need to learn more about dragons and dragon consciousness. But the last thing, Do you have any final message? Any words for the audience, for me, for humanity at large? Just yeah, last words.
Last words.
Yeah, I mean, no, not that. I hope you have a very long and amazing life. But I just meant like for the podcast. Any last words?
um My God, I don't know, just have fun as well, have a lot of pleasure and try to enjoy this experience because it's already quite can be heavy, right? Like we are here on a big quest. So try to make it as pleasurable for yourself and nice as possible. And always, I don't know, try to be kind of like in this, if you like to get yourself into the state of detachment and see it as the movie that it is, right? Kind of.
Oh, thank you. It's been a real pleasure talking to you and having learning from you and sharing your wisdom and your love and your presence. And just want to give a shout out to your website. It's clairespirit.com. That's a great website name. So, and is there any other way people can reach out to you, or is that the best way?
The best way is probably on Facebook. On Facebook, I'm like Claire Spirit, so you can contact me there until Facebook flags me again. But
No, thanks so much. This has been awesome. Namaste and stay blessed. Thank you.
thank you so much.